just wanna dance, dance.
Take your trust. That's me. That's so sick. I'm a fraud. Call me a liar. A true psycho. Ooh. I'm a fraud. Call me a liar. A true psychopath. Don't love me. When you're lost, take your trust. Yeah, that's me. Call me
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Lucas Hamrick. Thanks for tuning in today to listen to me rant and ramble on all things veteran. Hope everybody's having a great day so far. Today has been a wild one at OR. Had some good conversations, did an interview, just talking about veterans initiatives that we're working on. Um, uh, Started off the want to start off the show talking about some of the VA programs, but after talking yesterday with one of our new marketing assistants, kind of changed my perspective on what we wanted or what I wanted to bring to the table today for the discussion to start things off at least, and that was just kind of really talking about a um, some of the indicators for me whenever things were getting amped up or triggering type events uh, that I would f- feel coming on, and how I recognize those in advance. How I was able to teach myself how to recognize those uh, events, and ultimately create strategies to not have those events or triggers impact me to the capacity that they did before I figured that part out. Um, Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you guys have any of this type of content that you feel comfortable with sharing on the show as well, please uh, tune in or please comment in the chat thread. I'm sure a lot of these different experiences that you're having, uh, we're all at different stages of the journey. If you have any type of emotional baggage that you're hauling around, some of the stuff that's worked well for me, I picked up tips and tricks from other people along the way as a part of my journey. We can share those as well, so you can see if it's applicable to something you deal with, things of that nature. One of the earlier things that I always knew that I had a problem with, really didn't really know how to kind of like unpack it properly early on, was sitting with my back to the doorway in strange places, so restaurants, things of that nature. I would go to Chili's or whatever and have to sit with a clear line of sight to see who's coming and going from the restaurants, even though it was in the middle of mainstream America and there wasn't really anything to worry about. So those are the types of triggers I was talking about. Being in public spaces, tight proximity, grocery stores, things of that nature. Um, Multiple ins and outs from different stores or buildings. Those types of confined spaces kind of weirded me out a little bit, and maybe do things a little bit differently, heighten my sense of fight or flight, if you will. Um, so really, that changed the way I could interact with my kids and my family when we went out to eat, on the side and things of that nature. Does anybody have any experiences similar to that? Um, if so, we'd love to hear from you. Another one of the opportunities to grow from some of those triggers would be I could feel, uh, my hands like kind of tightening up as I'm sitting or in an uncomfortable situation, whether it be something traumatic or not. It was one of those indicators for me that I was made aware of during some prolonged exposure therapy as a part of my transition from military to post-military life. I went and did some extended work with the counselors to get some additional insights on some of the challenges that I was having. Ultimately, I was using um, my my transition as a military as a chance to kind of right the ship one last time, because as soon as you leave the DoD enterprise, everybody's heard all of the challenges that come with working with the VA. Uh, I haven't experienced all of those challenges yet, but it's definitely a situationally dependent um, discussion with the VA. Some of them are great, and some of them aren't. As a part of my transition, I retired out of South Texas down in San Antonio area, was a part of their VA system for about a year and a half after retirement. Things are great, no issues. Subsequently relocated to a different VA hospital, and so far it's been a mixed bag on some of uh, the opportunities that I was getting uh, with some of their care. Um, some of the uh, in addition to the clenching my fists and tightening of my muscles, um, that really takes the it, man, that's kind of tough. Uh, the clenching of the muscles and tightening of the fist was something that, like I said, it was brought out in some of those therapies, in the prolonged exposure therapies that I was talking about. And as soon as you become aware of that, it becomes a little bit more clear to you to pay attention to what specifically you're talking about, so you'll know what's kind of getting you amped up. Um, that pretty much works with all of those, whether it be being uncomfortable in large crowds, sitting with your back towards a door in a restaurant, um, muscles tightening, becoming flush, or just disoriented in your thinking, one track mind, kind of fight or flight, get out of here type deal. Uh, Love to hear some. Hey, Jimmy, thanks for checking in, man. Always nice to see a familiar face in the room. Some of those just challenges really difficult early on in some of the journey towards you know getting my mind right and things of that nature. But I'm glad I did it when I was still in uniform. Like I said, um, one of the things that I'm kind of unpacking now is I'm having some challenges with some of my hearing, which of course the VA in their infinite determination have determined that I'm 0% for hearing loss, even though I've got a handful of deployments, a couple different opportunities for uh, lots of loud noises, explosions, concussions, and things like that. But I'm trying to figure out how to deal with uh, some of the hearing not so great anymore. My wife is telling me that I should look into seeking out some help with some of those challenges with hearing. If anybody's got any experience with that, love to pick your brain on that, because I'm just really starting from scratch, and I'll just basically put in a requisition to get some pointers from the VA, or start there and speak with my provider, and just get some like an off-post consult or whatever the VA version of that is, because I live about an hour's drive from the VA, and they'll look for any I say that they look for more cost-effective solutions for the customers to be able to connect and uh, seek help in their local communities. As a part of my transition out of the Army, I convinced my family to move to a remote part of Texas, and give it a shot at farming. So it's um, means it takes me away from some of the accessible resources for helping for getting the help I need. But it also gives me the opportunity to find more creative solutions, and really build a new community to um, seek out some of the help and assistance that I need. And the veterans fraternal connections really help fast forward some of those opportunities. Met some great veterans through the American Legion, VFW, a couple of the other opportunity or veterans charities, nonprofit organizations, GBF, uh, uh, SOSF. There's a handful. Uh, there's a handful of uh, veterans connective tissues that you can really like plug into and fast forward some uh, meeting of new community members. I think I'm just ugly, Jimmy. I'm just kidding. So yeah, taking advantage of all those nonprofit organizations to really rebuild a new resilient network in a new community and really start to meet some folks who can help build in some of those resiliencies that I know I need as a veteran. You start to take stock of how you need to manage your how you need to manage your affairs with post traumatic stress or anxiety or depression or some of these other side effects, we'll call them, that occur from some of your time in uh, less than ideal conditions or combat operations. You really need to keep that at the forefront of some of your uh, activities to keep from regressing or losing some of the progress that you made because you do have the ability to backslide fairly easy if you take your finger you take your foot off the gas. Uh, really, I mean, it's been a great day. We've talked some veterans issues across a couple different spectrums. Looking to keep the party rolling right here. I'd love to hear from anybody in the community if you have some of those challenges that you interact with or that you know that are specific to you. Share them from the if you could share your comments with the group in the chat or potentially we could. Set up like some type of collaborative chat with Discord down the road. We're just kind of getting comfortable with the new format that we've put in place here. So there'll be a few growing pains. That's okay. We can bounce back and make some adjustments to the schedule. For those of you who don't really know or understand why I'm on here rambling, so my name is Lucas Hamrick. I'm the chief executive for OR Systems. We are currently in the process of building a video game that helps veterans heal from some of the challenges of post-traumatic stress. We've got an Indiegogo campaign going on right now. You can go to Indiegogo slash with them frontlines. We'll take you to the site. We also have a neat interactive website that'll help you learn a little bit more about it as well. It's withthem.vet or withthem.co. It will allow you to read up a little bit more on the game and how we are basically leveraging some of today's technologies to come up with creative alternatives to some of the solutions that are currently available to vets. We grew up, I grew up as a video game kid. I'm now raising video game kids, so it really also provides me a neat opportunity to connect with the kids in a different capacity uh, in what we're doing as parents. All of us at the company all have kids, and we all try and want to leave a lasting impression on what we're doing and uh, how to be good stewards of your. Uh, all right. Well, apparently there's some commercials going on right now in the background. And everybody's laughing at my internet because I live out in the middle of a rural community. But we're fixing that. Um, all right, where was I? So back to we're making the video game to help ads. Go check it out with them.co. Follow the Indiegogo, subscribe, give us $1. You can follow the content, some of the upgrades, the updates that get pushed through there, really exclusive content. If we can work on some subscriptions here, we will lose some of those commercials. So we're learning about this Twitch a little bit more every day. I'm just now getting my sea legs, if you will. Love to hear from some other veterans in the group. Anybody out there that is from the Army? Love to hear what organizations you were part of. Anybody that was from the Navy? I only know a very limited amount about the Navy, other than like the big picture stuff and some SEALs and some Air Force limited capacity on CCT, PJs, all of your special operations uh, type functional purposes within the branches. I'm fairly familiar with. We've done some joint stuff in Iraq and Afghanistan, or Afghanistan, not Iraq. I was a conventional when I was in Iraq, but we did work with some soft forces over there as well. I've done a couple different. I've got 13 depth boards total. Done a mixed bag of Iraq, Afghanistan, some other low intensity conflict stuff, pre GWAT, post GWAT deployments. My last real deployment was a GWAT order to Asia. So those 12304 Bravo, I believe it was, types of global war on terror orders they can work some tricky accounting with that stuff and get you anywhere they need some help. So, what other veterans issues are important to you? That's what we're here for, to help. I've got a fairly decent background in helping navigate the VA systems. We've got a couple ebooks written on the vocational rehabilitation and education, chapter 31, as well as the dependent educational assistance, chapter 35, VA entitlement programs. I can help you navigate some of the complexities of those things. I've also helped more than a handful of people with some of their VA claim. In a former life, I was a warrant officer. That means we know how to intimately read books and find answers and things of that nature. So um, feel free to chime in if you got anything. I was motivated by a few other veterans. I'm trying to consume some more of this content as a part of what we're doing, and I'm taking the structure out of the show a little bit and just kind of creating a more of a free flow, which will hopefully garner some more participation. When you get into the structured content, it's a little bit more rigid. It's harder to hop in and out of conversations. But really, we're all about just trying to bake resilient networks for veterans, because ultimately that's what's going to provide accountability for me, to me, uh, as well as all veterans that are on our team, veterans I interact with in my community, and things of that nature. So part of walking that walk, man, we're a predominantly veteran-owned company. We just onboarded another veteran to help us in our opportunity to market this game. We brought on a veteran. She's super savvy with it. She's immediately corrected some of our challenges that we had. Uh, that's a good question from the group. Have you ever done group therapy as a part of your healing? Yes, I have. I've done probably about 4 years of meeting every Thursday with a particular group when I was down in the San Antonio area. I'm now kind of trying to stand up another one of those groups locally in my new area to help people grow through some of those challenges, because I think at the end of the day, I learned more from the group setting than I did in a clinical setting. The clinical applications applied therapeutics, but uh, the group therapy table talk discussions provided context, and that helped me see things in a capacity from another person's perspective. So some of the oh, that's something I deal with. You kind of get a little bit more exposure to realize that a lot of these challenges that you're working through, other people have as well, and some of that kind of spills into uh, the earlier comment that I made about us being on the same journey as veterans with some types of post traumatic stress or uh, shell shock or whatever you want to call it. Is it uh, names are tricky sometimes. But we're all on the same journey and we're all at different places on that journey. And sometimes, like in that group setting, you can really fast forward some understanding with some simple sharing of some opportunities that worked well for you or didn't work well for other people. And it kind of adjusts some of your behaviors based on what you take in from other people doing it. In addition to the group therapies, I've had some exposure to uh, prolonged exposure therapy, where you take one specific. Some of these terms may be new or uh, not necessarily well known, so I'll just go ahead and kind of like skim through a couple of the other methods that I participated in therapy. So prolonged exposure, what I did was took one specific instance from a combat rotation that was giving me fits, man. I'd have nightmares about it, pretty recurring dreams, and from time to time, you'd be sitting in the office, and it would, you'd flash into a part of that scenario that was just randomly pop into your head. Um, uh, so what I did was I sat with a therapist and we documented the story from start to finish, all the way through for about 8 weeks. Uh, uh, did this twice a week. Would sit with the therapist and tell the story from start to finish. When I first started telling the story, it took about uh, 20 minutes with some fragmented details missing along the way. And by the time I got done with the story, it was a lot more cogent. Some of the content was filled in that was foggy or clear at the beginning of the prolonged exposure. So that was helpful and really kind of, I like to think of it as defragging my hard drive, where it just kind of organized the data in a different manner. And really, one of the neat parts about that is I only had to do that for that one instance. And now when I think about other instances that were, it's the same types of negative impacts to my life, they don't necessarily have as negative an impact, even though I didn't do the prolonged exposure therapy for it, because it's supposed to, I guess I'm on commercials. Doesn't really cover this too much. So commercials are about every 10 minutes. right. So hopefully the commercials are over. If not, I'll just talk over them and they'll catch up. So the prolonged exposure therapy is supposed to help with some of the defragging of the other stories as well, and it seems to have done that in my case. That it did kind of consolidate some of those other stories. Uh, what used to be fragmented or filled or holes in uh, different instances had since kind of like filled in a little bit around some of the void with that. So in addition to prolonged exposure therapy, I've done the group therapy, both structured and unstructured group therapies, some group facilitation as a form of therapy where I facilitate the discussion of other uh, uh, people in a group setting to really help uh, some of the newer people to uh, the group setting, really figure out how to interact within the group and uh, how to share and not be so judgmental, because a lot of us veterans end up trying to do these comparatives about, this guy is somebody who didn't have he wasn't an 11 Bravo or an 18 Bravo or something like that, so that he didn't have the same experience as me. When in reality, all that stuff really impacts you. Um, it impacts each individual in a different capacity. So uh, they might have the same physiological responses as you, even though they didn't have the same type of stimulation that caused your challenges. So really, that was uh, immensely helpful for me to facilitate some of those discussions, as well as I've done a little bit of EMDR. Not a huge fan of that. It's lights and adjusting some of your physical behaviors to environmentals. Not a huge fan of it, but it's some people have great successes with it. What else was that? EMDR. Just straight up, just talking with a counselor about some of the challenges as well has been helpful. There's some great clinics outside of the VA that can also help you achieve some of those desired end states of having a more normalized version of yourself, or a less military version of yourself. It's pretty fun-loving and carefree when I was a kid. When the Army came out all serious and drab. So I mean, some of the therapies have helped me kind of like peel back some of those other layers to get to earlier versions of myself that my family knows and recognizes. And it's helped me with some of my integration back into civilian life. Transitioning from the military was one of the probably more challenging aspects of life that I had, honestly. Took me about 3 years to really get on my feet. Um, but those 3 years were really unpacking a lot of the stuff, the gray matter that was between my ears. Hey, thanks for the subscription. Um, thanks for the follow. I'm way down the list. There we go. So really just taking the time to rediscover who I was, post-military really played a large role in um, uh, not only my own personal wellness journey, but my family's as well. I used to be really high strung and um, didn't really have the opportunity to like let things go very easily. But with some hard work and some effort, I was able to kind of like figure out how to set some of that stuff down and be able to pick it back up when I needed to pick it up, uh, or if I wanted to, like take the opportunity to remember an anniversary, you can uh, kind of set the conditions to do that appropriately, and it's really just checking in with yourself to kind of come to terms with how you're going to interact with the anniversary data. Like, hey, this is the fall is always usually pretty challenging for me. That's when a lot of my instances that give me grief really occurred, is like the fall time frame, October, November, and then generally on the other side of the calendar, February, March, when things start to ramp back up again in some of the funner places that the Army likes, or the military writ large likes to send you. Anybody got any exciting VA stuff to, uh, or not VA, veterans opportunity discussion stuff they want to tee up? All right. If not, all right. So back to the list of indicators and therapies. Um, Honestly, one of the bigger things that I appreciate from being a veteran is connecting with other veterans and figuring out, all right, I just clicked on a button, so we'll see what happens. All right, so it's running a commercial. All right. All right. That's how it works. Gotcha. Okay. Question came in from the chat thread. What have you done? What are some of the hurdles you had to experience with the VA you didn't expect? Um, Honestly, to me, my transition went about as smoothly as I could expect it to. I had the opportunity to watch my mentor retire about 2 years ahead of my retirement, so I got to watch all of his challenges that he went through and look at his Cliff's notes for his after action stuff to set myself up for part of a smooth transition. And obviously, most of that is really documentation of your medical claims within the VA. So that went pretty smoothly. I've had a pretty challenging military career. Couple dozen or a handful of concussions, a couple TBI instances, uh, broken bones, done just about everything cool there is to do in the Army. I was a military free fall JM, so I got to get paid to skydive and do all the weird fun stuff the Army likes to advertise in their commercials, but you don't really see a whole lot of in real life. Falling out of helicopters, sliding down ropes out of helicopters, turning ankles. So a lot of my injuries were pretty well documented. Starting off in some of the infantry regiment stuff, you don't really have as sound of record keeping within the battalion aid stations, things like that. So some of my early injuries weren't really that well documented, but most of the later stuff was all pretty meticulously documented, and some of the SF 600s or whatever the forms were back then, where they basically document all of your localized injuries to send you to remedial care. I was down in the Philippines southern chain of islands. Broke my leg down there. Spent a couple weeks hobbling around on it when I was down there. Made it back to the States. I thought it was just a high ankle sprain. Uh, Went into the doctor, like, hey man, how are you standing up? I was like, well, lots of tape. So just some of those challenges with overcoming how to account for some of the injuries that you experience within the VA is usually one of the bigger obstacles that are how the injuries that occurred when you're in the Department of Defense is one of the bigger challenges that people have. Um, I took the opportunity to really crack the books on that CFR 38 Part 4 and figure out how the VA schedule of ratings works, and kind of systematically went about writing all of those claims based on the insights that I gained from reading that Part 4 section of CFR. Another opportunity for navigating some of the VA obstacles would be just flat out finding the right provider to share your story with. You know, it's not everybody that really fits comfortably with who you get assigned as a provider, but you can take the opportunity to use multiple providers within the VA system that you fall into alignment with. You can also now get referred off the installation to go to a private provider network. That's kind of a wonky system that I'm still trying to like figure out how to better navigate, because I'm in a VA system that uses a third-party provider to book and schedule those appointments. Some of their scheduling opportunities don't really um, align with keeping proper records, so they can get you an appointment with a provider. You go get some help for 5-6 weeks worth of sessions, and then mysteriously you're dropped off the rolls because their third-party provider didn't file something appropriately with the VA or what have you. So if you had to go back and give yourself some advice, is what the question is from the chat. Great question. Probably be maybe record everything. Listen to what the people are telling you, and follow up with some of those opportunities, because not everybody is as excited to give you some of their time and attention as it relates to your specific uh, inquiry. Another piece of advice I would have would be to just kind of keep a second set of your own records. I mean, the custodial stewardship of your medical records is with your provider while you're in the Department of Defense. Those didn't always match the records that I kept locally. So at the end of my tenure in the military, I kind of had to merge my own records and the records that the Army had on file for me to tell a more complete story for what I was wanting to represent in some of the VA claims process for the disability rating. in addition to the keeping a copy of your medical records, some of the opportunities would be network, talk to people, spend more time in your. I guess we're running an ad break here in a moment. Nope. Network, talk to people who have been there, done what you're getting ready to do or trying to do, and they'll help. Man, everybody in the Veterans Network that we've engaged so far has been super helpful, super exciting to interact with because everybody's trying to help with a different portion of somebody's uplift. So if you can fast forward somebody's understanding on something, uh, they're 9 times out of 10, everybody's going to give you the opportunity to share your experience because they don't really have any exposure to it just yet. Some additional advice would be look back and just do it all again and enjoy the process. It was a blast. I didn't really uh, get the I've got to go to work vibe until probably like the last year I was in the army. Other than that, it was I get to do this stuff, and I can't believe they're paying me to do this stuff. And I thoroughly enjoyed um, my experience. Um, I don't know how that would really relate so much to uh, situations that would interact with the VA, but uh, just be appreciative. Start to look for other people to um, kind of follow their content as well, like within social media. Uh, Ahead of getting out, I wish I would have had a stronger uh, and more resilient network of like transition assistance folks as I was coming out of the Army. Uh, one of the questions, were there any good experiences with the VA? Yes. Quite frankly, nothing but pleasant experiences with the San Antonio area VA medical system. Really solid infrastructure. San Antonio is a huge community. 7 million people live in San Antonio, so there's a huge provider network where they can get some of those GS employees to rotate around town through all of your, I mean, San Antonio, what, Medical City, USA, or Military City, USA. There's a couple of Air Force bases, an Army installation. So all those GSA or GS employees can rotate through all of those different ecosystems down there in San Antonio and get a lot of different exposure. Might not see that super great in some of the more remote areas of the VA, like which I currently find myself, but that doesn't mean that those are bad people either. They're just people used to doing things in a particular fashion because that's all they really know. They don't rotate through different enterprises within the government to understand that there is a different way to do things. A little perspective goes a long way with the VA and their employees, and it's sometimes they make it challenging to not get snippy with them, but for the most part, they're just people doing their jobs as well. So hopefully we can make it through this as smoothly as possible. So that's about it for all the uh, veterans content and stuff of that nature regarding the VA. I figured we'd do a small little veterans current events session to kind of close out the last segment of the show. Are there any veterans out there who have any types of impacts that they're feeling from some of these? I was reading about the delay in veterans benefits that's getting ready to come out. They're still trying to figure out the housing payments and how that's going to post. I guess that's uh, one of those weird things because it's been congressionally appropriated money from Congress. So how could they have a problem with it? Is anybody seeing any uh, uh, of the blowback from that, or feeling any of the repercussions? I know to me as a student, when I was doing my undergraduate studies, I did rely on my GI Bill as part of my sustenance and how I sustained myself for going through uh, college. If somebody had, if I had built that into my budget and it all of a sudden it decided not to come or not to show up for 6 weeks, that would have, put me behind. Uh, there's different resources available to kind of like offset some of those challenges as well. So that's one of the things that we're really looking to energize uh, with the community is how to uh, resource things properly and how to find those resources for veterans when you're stuck between life and a hard place. You can find assets that will help you mind the gap to cross some precarious uh, spots in life. So, one of the abilities to help is really, I don't know, it's rewarding for me to be able to like kind of assist people in their efforts. I'm doing it locally here, which I find to be quite entertaining, uh, helping people get ready to go to selection. I'm 45 years old, still out walking around with a backpack on my back because there's uh, locals here that are interested in maybe taking a shot at doing what I did, and I'm helping them train up. That stuff's fun for me. I like the mentorship aspects of life. I guess that's just the senior military person in me is being able to get some type of bounce back on helping. All right. Um, in addition to the delay in the VA benefits, I saw another article on the Military Times that was talking about that vet tech program expiring, coming up here pretty quick. Uh, I didn't personally have any access to this program or any use of it, but it seemed to be a pretty interesting program. It's a program. It was a POI for um, high-end technical training that was launched in 2019. It was a 5-year pilot program where about 12,000 vets got put into the hopper where they went and got some hands-on high-tech training. Um, and about 8,000 of those 12 so far have found gainful employment in the high-end technical fields. That's a program that they're looking to. The Government Accountability Office was looking to sunset the program. There's a few advocates around that aren't uh, eager to see it go away. It's a great opportunity for some of these younger service members who are at the end of their first contract to come out, transition, take some of that, uh, those jobs from uh, uh, from the military, the high-end technical jobs, radio repairman, telecommunications expert, to get into some of uh, those high-paying technical career fields, and really extending that veteran operational reach across a couple of different industries in technology. I think you're going to start to see a lot of that taking place here shortly anyways, because the military has become so technically oriented with all of the modern uh, adaptations of the warfighting functions, that some of these kids will come in and do a quick turnaround, 3-year contract, and be showing up to an interview at 23 years old without a college degree, but with all of the expertise through hands-on real life applications of the services. That really kind of like help get the credentialing required for employment. Um, they're looking to sunset that, and one of the House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, is pretty uh, adamant about extending that pilot program as a part of that CFR 38 title federal entitlement program. But that's a really challenging discussion to unpack the federal entitlement programs and the VA. There's tons of them. I'd love to hear some feedback from anybody who's ever had the opportunity to use the GI Bill. I used both Montgomery and post 9/11 GI Bill as part of my educational experience. I'm a bigger fan of the Montgomery, honestly, because it was easier, less burdensome. But that was my personal experience. Love to hear what some of your thoughts were on that. I've also, as a part of my research for the vocational rehabilitation and education program, I put through an application to participate in those processes. I didn't complete the process, but I made it all the way up to the LCC. I guess we're getting ready to turn an ad here coming pretty quick because that light has lit back up. So I made it all the way up to the, well, I guess we'll hang tight. Um, so made it all the way up to the final disposition of the VR&D program, where I opted to delay acceptance. You can circle back and re-engage with that anytime you see fit. So it's pretty handy. If anybody has any questions on that, feel free to circle back at a later date and time in here and throw them in the chat room. We're always going to be in here on Thursday afternoons talking some veterans tips, tricks, and how-to guides on how to uh, be more interconnected as a veterans community. So still holding strong with about high 70s, low 80s of viewers. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate everybody's participation. A couple new subscribers popping in. Right. So in addition to the list of indicators for some fight or flight stuff coming on, and just veterans networking initiatives and current events, I'd like to take a final parting thoughts on talking about the Indiegogo campaign and why it's important to us. We're definitely eager to help change the conversation as it relates to mental wellness and well-being within the veterans community, because what's currently available is not necessarily footing the bill. But that's okay, because we're the video game generation. I grew up from the Atari, working my way through NES, Sega Genesis, PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4. Still haven't made it to the 5 yet, but there's always next week. Who knows? Xbox One, Xbox S, or whatever the hell it is. My kids are gamers, so um, it's not going away. This is a new medium to potentially have a more in-depth conversation about how we can help fix some of the maybe not fix, maybe that's a bad term. Supplement might be a better use of the word. How we can supplement some of the therapeutics that we have available from the DoD or the VA or private medical insurance for those who have gainful employment. Really, we're just kind of wanting to extend the the opportunity to veterans who have a story that they feel could impact some of the other veterans and perhaps compel them to share their own experience is really who we're looking to connect with. In addition to the financing aspects of the Indiegogo, we'd love to have a completely end-to-end veteran system to solve veterans' problems. Um, you know, from sharing our stories to programming the gameplay to helping market the game to helping distribute the game all the way through helping heal from the game aspirationally. Get version one is get a good quality game out there, and Sean like say don't produce anything that sucks, and get a good high quality game in there that's going to compel people to play. After we get that, there'll be some companion app stuff that will send some non-attributable data uh, to a data repository where we can uh, feed into our machine learning to look for patterns and behaviors that will potentially provide medical experts and clinicians the opportunity to do things that they didn't necessarily have the opportunity to do because of some of the subjectivity involved with your testing and control methods when it comes to mental health. If you've ever had the opportunity to experience any one of those tests that you take when you go to talk to a therapist or clinical uh, medical professional. It's a lot of subjectivity when you sit down to take the test. If you had sat in traffic on your way to take the test, your scores are going to be skewed lower. Uh, but so there is room for improvement in these testing and control methods, and that's one of the opportunities that we feel that the game can really help kind of close the loop on, give you a more accurate measurement of statistical data over a longer period of time, and you're not just looking at a snapshot when somebody's sitting with a pen in their hand to answer a question on a form in the waiting room. So if we can change some of those ways we're measuring some of the impacts of the applied therapeutics, I think that really lends a lot of expertise to the medical professionals that we have. You know, Dr. Dr. Stephen and Dr. Tren to help really provide us some additional insights into the information that they're looking to capture and things of that nature, and how they can use the collected information to more accurately uh, prescribe therapeutics to some of their patients as a part of those discussions. I think that's really interesting stuff. I mean, the technology is available. We should leverage it to the fullest extent that we can to really change some of that conversation through a different medium. Uh, anyway, that's just my thoughts. Love to hear what your feedback is on that. I see quite a few people hopping into and out of the room. If you feel compelled, throw a quick hey into the chat bar. Uh, Let us know that you're out there listening, and the topics are relatable or not. So either way, Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate the active ear when it comes to all things Vet Connect. We're really looking to build the network. So please help us connect and share your journey and your story as well when you feel compelled. I think my time is coming up on an end, but who knows? We shall see. But I'm just going to keep right on flowing through, anyways. So, how's everybody's day going? Yeah, pretty good, I hope. Mine's not so bad. Just kind of chugging along here, talking to you guys and tuning in. Hoping to see some feedback. If we don't get it, we'll just roll right in through. So we got a couple of opportunities coming up to talk about the game with some external voices, different podcasts, get on some radio stations, hopefully get a TV spot here pretty quick. Looking to share the gaming opportunity. What are some of the methods that you guys like to consume that type of content? And do you have any preferred veterans that you like to follow? Who can we learn from, or perhaps collaborate with to kind of like um, help expand the networking opportunity? All right. If we don't have the ability to network, that's okay. We're here and we can kind of mind the gap. We got a pretty solid team to fill in some voids. Sean is working the wheels of steel. Nick working most of the dev and the engineering aspects of things. And we're just here talking about veterans content. So looking forward to the opportunity to keep you guys gainfully engaged. Any feedback would help provide some validation on some of the content, or we can just keep shifting as we go along. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in today, guys. Really appreciate your time. This feed should shut off here pretty quick. Everybody that stopped by, thank you so much. Appreciate the commentary and the chat thread. Always great to see Jimmy and Kiz in there um, cheering us on. It does take a village, and we're just trying to grow the village. So if you'd like to be a part of our village, hop in and share your veterans comments in the chat thread. All right. Well, I'm just going to keep on going until this thing just completely shuts me off because I don't exactly know what's going to happen next, but we'll figure it out. I'm on autopilot for engineering today, so we will just ride the wave, man. Parting shots. Let me think of something good. Veteran content. Have a great Good Friday and a happy Easter weekend. And that's about a wrap from the live stream of Vet Connect. See you again next week. I'd appreciate it if everybody shows up with some interesting questions on how to get some help with some of the challenges that you're faced with as a veteran. All right. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.